They still leave the place a mess. They still have homeless people everywhere. It's still a disaster. It's still a woke show of virtue signaling at every level of the government. Still. Like, no course correction at all. They're going further and further into la-la land. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you guys. And so then a place like Austin becomes attractive.
Let me tell you what the real problem, I didn't realize it till I left.
What?
That everybody's too busy tapping themselves on the back.
There's a lot of that.
When the fires happened, those 3 women or whatever the chief and whatever, I'm looking at them and I'm like, look at them. Yeah. They all got gel in their hair. They all got a tattoo on their neck. God forbid they can't be cool for just 1 minute. God forbid. And that's the problem you have out there.
Joe Rogan isn't showing any signs of backing down in his ongoing feud with Gavin Newsom. The unfiltered comedian and powerhouse podcaster made it crystal clear. He believes Newsom is tearing California apart and must be stopped before the damage becomes irreversible. In one of the most fiery episodes of his show, Rogan unleashed a scathing takedown, calling out the governor for the spiraling chaos across the state, and even dismantling his lofty dream of one day sitting in the White House. Rogan didn't just criticize, he went all in, torching every excuse and exposing cracks in Newsom's leadership. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and get ready, because this showdown is only getting started.
You know what? It's also, there's places that sort of rest on their laurels too much. And whenever that happens, it's easy for another place to rise up that offers something more interesting. So like Los Angeles was always Los Angeles. And like when Gavin Newsom talks about California, it's like, you know, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. California has all this industry. Hey, fucko, they're all thinking about moving.
Thank God.
The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move.
And Rogan's not just ranting. He's pointing to a reality that millions of Californians already feel. Families, small businesses, and even billion-dollar corporations are packing their bags, abandoning what was once the Golden State. The dream of California has turned into something people are desperate to escape. The surge in crime has left neighborhoods on edge, with smash-and-grab robberies, rising homelessness, and violent incidents dominating headlines week after week. On top of that, hard-working people are crushed by sky-high taxes, watching more and more of their paychecks vanish while getting almost nothing in return. Then comes the infamous California bureaucracy, a labyrinth of endless rules, red tape, and government overreach that strangles innovation before it even has a chance to breathe. It's no surprise so many are choosing Texas, Florida, or Nevada as their new home. California's collapse isn't just another political talking point. It's a full-blown cautionary tale, showing the world exactly what failed leadership looks like.
If it was like every business could instantly pull up roots and replace everything and have everything running in a week at the other place, they'd all be gone. They'd all be gone. It's too expensive. It's too expensive to leave versus what you would save and the regulations that you wouldn't have to go through and all the bullshit with all the permits and all the. What California does is overregulate everything. They get as much government involved as possible. They suck as much tax money out of you as possible.
Even Joe Rogan himself eventually reached a breaking point. California, the place he once proudly called home, became so unlivable that he had no choice but to leave. And Rogan wasn't alone in that decision. Prominent conservative voices like Ben Shapiro and the entire Daily Wire team also packed up and left, pointing to the state's hostility toward both business and personal freedom. But this exodus isn't limited to political commentators. Even Hollywood, the very industry that made California a global symbol of entertainment, is beginning to crumble under the weight of its own broken system. Film producers who once considered Los Angeles the only place to create now prefer Georgia, Texas, or even overseas, where tax incentives are generous, crime is lower, and creativity isn't suffocated by endless red tape. When the entertainment capital of the world starts bleeding out its own lifeblood, you know the rot runs far deeper than politicians want to admit. California's leaders can spin their stories, but the steady departure of talent and business speaks louder than any press conference ever could.
They still leave the place a mess. They still have homeless people everywhere. It's still a fucking disaster. It's still a woke shit show of virtue signaling at every level of the government. Still. Like no course correction at all. They're going further and further into La La Land. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you guys. And so then a place like Austin becomes attractive.
Rogan hasn't taken his foot off the gas when it comes to torching Gavin Newsom, and one of his biggest targets is California's obsession with woke experiments. Not long ago, state lawmakers proudly passed a baffling law forcing department stores with more than 500 employees to set up gender-neutral toy aisles. Because, apparently, that was the crisis California desperately needed to solve. But the absurdity didn't stop there. Another law gave children the ability to hide their decision to transition from their own parents, cutting families out of some of the most life-altering choices a young person can ever make. For Rogan and for countless Californians, these aren't just isolated policies. They're part of a disturbing pattern where ideology outranks common sense, and government meddling stretches into every corner of daily life. To many residents, it feels less like freedom and more like forced social engineering. And it's no surprise that families and businesses alike are packing their bags, fleeing to states where leaders prioritize safety, opportunity, and growth over bizarre laws that only drive people further away from the so-called Golden State.
And people are very reasonable. And Austin, the best thing about Austin is it's a blue city in a red state. So it's like balanced. Like, this is a saying they have out here, keep Austin weird and surrounded. So Austin is surrounded by rednecks with guns, and like it keeps the tone more medium. Like the Austin liberals, they're much more just left of center people, like we are. You know what I mean?
Austin serves as a fascinating case study, especially when you place it side by side with California. Yes, Austin leans liberal. Nobody denies that. But here's the crucial difference. The city hasn't thrown itself headfirst into kind of extreme, overreaching policies that have wrecked California. Austin still embraces progressive values, but it does so with a sense of balance and pragmatism. Lawmakers aren't obsessed with forcing bizarre social experiments onto families or strangling businesses with crushing taxes and endless red tape. Instead, the city has built itself into a hub for technology, innovation, and culture, attracting entrepreneurs, creators, and visionaries who might once have called California home. It's a place that feels liberal without being suffocating, progressive without being performative. That is exactly why Austin continues to thrive, while California loses residents and corporations at an alarming pace. In the end, Austin proves a simple truth. You can uphold liberal ideals without destroying your state through reckless woke overreach.
Let me tell you what the real problem, I didn't realize it till I fucking left.
What?
That everybody's too busy tapping themselves on the back.
There's a lot of that.
When the fires happened, those three women or whatever the fuck, the chief and whatever, I'm looking at them and I'm like, look at them.
Yeah.
They all got gel in their hair. They all got a tattoo on their neck. God forbid they can't be cool for just one fucking minute. God forbid. And that's the problem you have out there.
Comedian Joey Diaz didn't pull a single punch when it came to Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. With his trademark bluntness, Diaz unleashed a fiery rant over their disastrous handling of the Palisades fires. He tore straight through the political theater, accusing California's so-called leaders of caring more about polishing their images than protecting the lives of the very people they were elected to serve. While flames consumed homes and families scrambled in fear, Diaz pointed out that Newsom and Bass seemed more concerned with press conferences, photo ops, and stage appearances than with finding real solutions to crisis. To him, it was just another painful reminder of how out of touch California's leadership has become, prioritizing optics and sound bites over decisive action. His words hit home with countless residents who feel abandoned and betrayed by politicians who preach compassion, but fail to deliver when disaster truly strikes. For Diaz, this wasn't just comedy. It was a raw and brutal dose of truth.
This is my idea, and it's great, and it's going to work. It's not working.
You're right.
But you're too stupid. I say, you know what? This ain't working. Their egos are so big, they don't have the heart to go, this ain't working.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But I don't think it's entirely their fault. It is their fault, but the culture rewards that kind of behavior. This is the problem with having protected classes of people, whether it's gay, lesbian, whatever it is, whether it's your nationality, if you have a protected class of people where you're not allowed to criticize the protected class of people, then they become, Vivek Ramaswamy talked about this in a very interesting way. He's like, it's the tyranny of the underprivileged, or is that what he called it? The tyranny of the marginalized.
And nowhere is Gavin Newsom's failure more obvious than in California's homelessness crisis. Under his leadership, it's as if the homeless have been turned into a protected class, shielded from honest debate or criticism. Anyone daring to question the policies fueling this disaster is quickly silenced, while the personal choices and circumstances that often lead people to the streets are conveniently swept aside. Instead of fostering accountability, the state has embraced a culture of entitlement, where responsibility is replaced with a steady stream of taxpayer-funded programs. The result? Homelessness has exploded, spilling across sidewalks, underpasses, and once thriving public parks. Entire neighborhoods now feel like open-air encampments. The message from Sacramento couldn't be clearer. You don't need to plan ahead, save wisely, or make responsible decisions. Because if you lose everything, the state will simply pick up the bill. What should have been a system rooted in compassion has morphed into a blueprint for dependency. And now Californians are the ones paying the heavy price for Newsom's failed experiment.
But the idea is that this group of people, whether they're trans people or gay people, they get, above everything. Everything you do is amazing. Oh my God, you're so fabulous. Because no one wants to be thought of as homophobic or transphobic. So you pretend that everything they do is incredible. And so you're going to be the best firefighter ever. Like, can you carry a burning man out of a building? Girl, you don't have to. If he was in that building, he shouldn't have been in that building in the first place. If I have to carry him out, we got other problems. A literal firefighter said that in response to, could she carry her husband out of the building?
One of the most basic, non-negotiable fundamentals of firefighting is physical strength, the ability to lift and carry an unconscious or weakened victim out of danger. Fires don't wait for perfect conditions. And people don't suddenly become lighter in the middle of a crisis. This isn't about disrespecting women in the profession or discouraging anyone from pursuing the job. It's about a harsh reality. If your duty is to save lives, you must be physically capable of doing it when the moment demands everything of you. Firefighting isn't just about bravery or good intentions. It's about strapping on heavy gear, charging into smoke-filled rooms, pushing through heat and chaos, and still having the raw strength to drag a full-grown adult to safety. Sometimes while the building is collapsing around you, lives are literally hanging in the balance, and no quota, lowered standard, or act of political correctness should ever compromise that truth. In the end, it's not appearances that matter. It's strength, competence, and the ability to protect the public when seconds decide everything.
You shouldn't be a firefighter. You shouldn't be a firefighter if you can't carry someone out of a building. If you can't run up a flight of stairs because you're 260 pounds and 5'7" and a woman. No, you shouldn't be a firefighter. You should have to be in like really good shape to be now, if you're some fucking CrossFit game lady who's some beast, I'm like, yeah, that lady could be a firefighter.
The Democratic National Committee has practically perfected the art of forcing square pegs into round holes, placing people in positions of power they are painfully unqualified to handle. And all of it is done in the name of woke DI programs. Instead of prioritizing skill and competence, individuals are elevated to check boxes and virtue signal, while the public is left to suffer the consequences. The results are impossible to ignore. We now see doctors more worried about being politically correct than prescribing the medication that could save a life. Pilots who look great on a glossy recruitment brochure, but can't handle the terrifying reality of an emergency landing when dozens of lives hang in the balance. Politicians who flood the airwaves with rehearsed talking points, yet completely collapse when confronted with genuine crises. It's a culture where appearances are valued over ability, and ideology is placed above expertise. And while the DNC celebrates itself for being inclusive, everyday Americans are left with leaders and professionals who can't even do the jobs they were trusted with.
Like, even guys. Like, if you're a guy and you're fucking scrawny and you never work out and all you do is smoke cigarettes, maybe you shouldn't be a firefighter. Maybe you can't get up that fucking flight of stairs either. It should be like, it's a physical job where you're rescuing people. You have to be able to physically carry people. You have to rescue them. Firefighters, when I was a kid, were the fucking big,
Beast.
brutal men.
Beast. Kicking
Big
down doors.
fucking houses. They looked like former football players. There was this guy I used to play pool with, Ray the Fireman, because everybody in the pool hall, I was Joe the Comedian. Everybody had a nickname based on what you did. Ray the Fireman was a fucking house. He was just this big fucking, like, big Irish guy.
And this principle matters even more in certain professions, roles where there is absolutely no room for incompetence or lowered standards. In these jobs, you must be sharp, well-trained, and capable of handling the most extreme pressures, no matter your race, gender, or background. Think about surgeons. One wrong move in the operating room, and a patient's life is gone forever. Or airline pilots. When an engine fails midair, no one cares about diversity points. Passengers want the calmest, most skilled professional at the controls. The same is true for military commanders making split-second decisions in combat, or nuclear engineers overseeing facilities where a single mistake could spark catastrophe. In these fields, excellence isn't optional, it's survival. Lowering the bar for the sake of political agendas doesn't just insult true professionals. It puts innocent lives directly at risk. Skill, intelligence, and merit must always come first. And California under Gavin Newsom is the living proof of what happens when those principles are abandoned. From spiraling homelessness and crippling bureaucracy to unqualified leaders and collapsing industries, the state has become a full-blown cautionary tale. America doesn't need more failed experiments. It needs leaders and professionals chosen for merit, strength, and vision, not political agendas. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed this fiery commentary, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this.